Phil Kerpen, the Vice President for Policy at Americans for Prosperity, has a new book out called Democracy Denied, How Obama is Ignoring You and Bypassing Congress to Radically Transform America and How to Stop Him. His website, philkerpen.com. Phil, welcome back to the program.
Always a pleasure, Tom.
So, Phil, this sounds really exciting to me. I mean, I'm reading through the press release and the summary on your book, and it sounds to me like President Obama is doing the stuff that we progressives have been asking him to do for a long, long time. I mean, tell me this is true, that he's been. Oh, geez, somehow I lost all my highlights. Just got vanished. My page got. But in any case, for example, you say that global warming. He's using the EPA to promote cap and trade. I had no idea.
Yeah, actually, the same abatement schedule from the Waxman-Markey cap and trade bill was written into the EPA's budget request by President Obama, and he's having them pursue it by a variety of regulations, not the least of which is PSD and Title V permitting, which the EPA in a recent court filing said would require 230,000 additional EPA bureaucrats to take down to the statutory threshold because the law was never written for that purpose. So that's one example. But Tom,
this is marvelous. So he's actually using executive power to do something about global warming?
Law and the Constitution, and someone, I know that from your work you have great respect for our democratic institutions. Certainly you've got to be concerned that these powers are being used to sidestep Congress, even if you agree with the particular policy purposes for which they're being used.
Well, one of the unique things about this, Phil,
for 4 years, and I hope that you recognize that if we don't have effective checks and balances, these expansive executive powers will be used in a lot of ways that you won't like as well.
Well, as you well know, Phil, let's not filibuster each other, okay?
Sorry.
Yeah, as you well know, if the president goes nuts, Congress can stop him. I mean, there are checks and balances there. If the president issues an executive order that the Congress doesn't like, they can pass a piece of legislation nullifying it. And then he'd have to get a 2/3 majority. He'd have to override a veto. He'd have to veto it. And then they could over. I mean, there is a check and balance system there. So apparently if he's doing this stuff, he's doing it with the permission of Congress. And I think that's marvelous. He's going to. When does cap and trade go into effect?
Well, they've talked about potentially doing an actual emissions trading scheme as part of a new source performance standard for power plants.
So he's just talking about it?
They've delayed those regulations until next year. I think the Title V and PSD permitting is already in effect for large sources, and they're going to ratchet it down over time to smaller sources, and that I think is where they're major cost drivers.
So right now, the big operations like the Koch brothers, paper factories and their refineries, they're having to trade emissions permits in the open market already?
Well, they don't have emissions trading. I think that if they do that, it'll be part of the NSPS that may come out next year, but they do have to file for permitting for greenhouse gases, which is new under this administration.
That's marvelous. I'm so glad to hear that. The Obama health law, in your book, Democracy Denied, you say that Obama's regulators have hijacked the Obama health law to make it worse.
Well, I think it's important to remember the extremely perverse process that was used to pass that. And when Scott Brown was elected by the people of Massachusetts specifically to be the deciding vote to stop that law, that day Barney Frank said that it would be wrong to ignore those voters and to contrive to pass it anyway. And then Ron Pollack of the pharmaceutical industry-funded Union Front Group Families
Phil,
USA
this is rhetoric.
Came up with the idea of going around Congress, going around the process in the Massachusetts election by enacting a discussion draft that the Senate had passed in order to go into conference and putting a discussion draft into the U.S. Code. And so we've got this contradictory mess of a discussion draft that has all sorts of flaws in it.
Phil, it sounds
and
to
the
me like
regulators are driving trucks through it. They're exercising vast discretion to figure it all out.
It sounds to me like you're making sweeping arguments that horrible things are happening or massive things are happening, and in fact stuff is being fixed or fiddled with around the edges, whatnot, which I think one would expect. But here's my question, which is really simple. With the health insurance companies under Obamacare, they are now required to at least spend $700 out of every $1,000 that they collect from you and me in payments on actually paying for health care. Before that, in some cases, they were taking 40-50% of that money, and Stephen J. Hemsley and Bill McGuire, the CEO and former CEO of United Healthcare, making over $1 billion. I mean, as a CEO, tell me that. So how possibly could a government administrative agency that operates with an overhead of 3, 4, 5% do a worse job of ripping us off than our for-profit healthcare system that has given us the world's most expensive healthcare system and with some of the worst outcomes in the planet?
Well,
or the developed planet.
We haven't had a free market healthcare system in this country since the perverse IRS regulations that led to the third-party payment system, which you would never get in a free market. So I agree with you. There are big problems in healthcare even before this.
There's no such thing as a free market, Phil. Come on.
Well, I would disagree with that. And,
you think there are free baseball games?
I don't even understand what you mean by that.
Where each team gets to decide how many balls or strikes they're going to have?
Of course, there has to be a referee. I would agree with that.
There have to be rules. So if there's rules, who makes the rules?
The problem.
No, who makes the rules, Phil?
Well, I would hope that we make them in a democratic fashion.
Okay, so the government makes the rules of an economy, right?
This is, I think, the critical distinction, and
that's why there's no such thing as a free economy.
Well, this is the critical
or a free market.
distinction. I think those rules need to be made by our duly elected representatives who we can hold accountable at the ballot box, not by unelected bureaucrats and regulators, but Congress.
How about by not by unelected lobbyists? How about not by unelected lobbyists? Will you join me in calling for, stripping the cash out of politics?
Well, I think that the right to petition government is a pretty fundamental right, so I'd be very careful to restrict lobbying for that reason. But I do think that, we've got to have decisions being made in a fashion that's transparent. The healthcare law rewarded many of those moneyed interests. I know you oppose the individual mandate without a public option because it's a pure giveaway of hundreds of billions of dollars to these healthcare companies. The hospitals cut a deal. The pharmaceutical companies cut a deal. This was not a bill that really anyone could be happy with, and I think that...
I'm very happy with it. The net of it was that while it was a far from perfect bill, and particularly once when the waivers kick in so that Vermont can have its own single-payer system, Montana can have its own...
to these companies?
I beg your pardon?
You want to give $200 billion directly to these health insurance companies that you've been so critical of, taxpayer dollars and subsidies?
If that's what it takes over the short term to make sure that we don't have 40,000 people a year dying in the United States because our system is so dysfunctional that we've got 50 million people who are uninsured, sure.
Well, I think the problem of the uninsured could have been dealt with in a much more targeted fashion. I
agree. Medicare for everybody. Medicare Part E. Get these corporations. We're the only country in the developed world that doesn't make it criminal to do what the health insurance companies do in the United States. But
Tom, can we agree in the civil liberties area that there have been abuses of executive power in both the Bush and Obama administration?
Yes, we can absolutely agree on that. Phil Kerpen, philkerpen.com. Thanks, Phil.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.